Are you about to buy some new equipment? I'm going to share with you a few things to consider. Let's talk about that right now. I'm Frank, and I'm all about helping business owners and entrepreneurs start and grow their lawn care business. Make sure to subscribe, like, and hit the bell button so you're notified of my future videos. What's going on, lawn care pros? So today we're going to talk a little bit about the types of equipment that are out there and what's kind of important when it comes to choosing what you're going to use. So as you well know, there's so many different brands to choose from, models and such, right? You got the Toros, Honda, Skag, Gravely. There's so many different models to choose from. In my business, it wasn't so much whether we used a Toro or a Honda. It was more about the relationship that we have with the distributor. And I want you to kind of really think about that. When I was first starting out, we were actually doing some tree work, so we were doing some like stump grinding, that kind of thing. And I remember, we were testing out stump grinders, and we have a distributor really close by, a Vermeer distributor. So I was, contemplating between that, and there was a couple other brands, but the other brands, I heard really great reviews on them, but there wasn't really a distributor nearby. You don't want to be out in the field and your equipment breaks and you don't have a distributor nearby, or a distributor that's backlogged, 2, 3, 4 weeks out, right? So you want to be able to find somebody locally and build that relationship with them in order to get your equipment in and out as quickly as possible. So again, there are so many different equipment types out there, and I'm sure we'll do some reviews for you guys down the road. But right now, what I really want you to focus in on is building that relationship with your distributor. If you buy a Honda or if you buy a Toro or a Skag, do you have a distributor nearby that's knowledgeable in that product line, right? Do they have a repair center that's fully staffed so you can get stuff in and out as quickly as possible? So you can test them on some of these things by just asking them the question. Hey, when I purchase this and, something happens in the middle of summer, I'm just curious, what's your turnaround? Are you guys usually like 2 weeks out? Do you guys put, us as contractors ahead of, a homeowner, right? So if a homeowner brings in a mower and I bring in a mower, am I going to get priority over the homeowner? So you want to ask those kind of things and get reassurance from your distributor, and in particular, hone in on one person that you can really, have that conversation with, get their phone number, ask them questions, and make sure that you're comfortable with that distributor and that person, and really building that relationship. Again, it's really important to do this because what good is it if you've got the best, operating mower, but when it breaks, and they all break, or if you need parts, right? You need a belt, you need whatever, and you need some gears, you need whatever it is, right? And you can't get the parts. What good is that, right? So I remember I was visiting one of my clients, and he took me to a storage unit, and he was running a particular line. I'm not gonna mention the line because I don't want to badmouth any particular line or brand. And he had a bunch of 21-inch mowers, and they were all kind of broken down, and they all had similar issues. And he had a warehouse, and I tell you, he ran a very busy business, but it wasn't efficient on the back end when it came to the equipment type maintenance, right? They didn't really have a maintenance program in place, which I encourage that you do. Get you a maintenance book. And if you're wondering how many times should I do this or how many times I should do that, refer to the owner's manual, get all that information and apply it towards your business, right? Because if you're using a mower and you're doing 30 cuts or 40 cuts or 300 cuts in a week with that same mower, it's going to be different, right? So you're going to have to do different things at different intervals, right? Changing the oil, the filter, that kind of thing. Make sure you have something in place for your guys and for yourself so you can make sure that you're maintaining your equipment. And going back to my client, he had, I don't know, like 25 different mowers in this warehouse, and a lot of it was from many years back, right? So something would break, he would put it out there. I mean, this guy could not throw away anything, right? So he had all this equipment and he's paying storage fees. And I'm like, do you really need this storage? I mean, this was an extra storage over and beyond what his business needed, right? So he was paying, I don't know, like $350 storage fees, and he was just storing all this junk. And I'm like, have you touched this thing in the last, 2-3 years? No, but I'm sure I'm gonna need something out there. So the reason I mention all that stuff is A, having a good relationship with your distributor, where, when you get to the point where some of this equipment is getting older, you have a good enough relationship where you can say, hey, Mr. Jones at my ABC distributor, do you know anybody that's looking for some used equipment? And just turn this stuff around. Don't let it sit idle. Don't pay a storage fee for equipment that you could use or you could sell used to somebody else that needs it, right? And if you're gonna part it out, go ahead and part it out right now and just get rid of whatever you don't need. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that from a clutter standpoint. If you have things that are cluttered, your mind's gonna be cluttered. You're not gonna be able to focus in on what you need to do, because he was always complaining to me about, man, I've got the storage fee, I might have to get another storage. I'm like, no, you don't. You've got plenty of equipment here that you can sell used and just get rid of. But he just couldn't get himself to that point, right? We don't want to be, just holding on to things because we feel like they're gonna have some value down the road. They're not. He had tons of weed eaters. He had tons of stuff that could have just been chunked, right? And now you're saving that $350 for the storage fee. He's got plenty of equipment where he can sell that, probably get 10, 15 grand just off used equipment. So I want you to really think about that. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I want you to not get to that situation, right? So if you got a piece of equipment that's broken down and you can't fix it, right? Or you are going to replace it by getting something new, go ahead and sell that other piece of equipment, because somebody else can use maybe the parts. Or maybe it's to the point where it is operational and you can sell it as a used piece of equipment, right? Because I know whenever I was first starting out, I bought all my equipment used because I couldn't afford to buy new. So that's okay. So what I'm saying to you is there's a market for that. So get that equipment, fix it up, and sell it, right? Don't carry the pain, especially if you're gonna buy new equipment year after year, right? So with all that said, we can really look at when is the right time for you to get new equipment, right? And again, I've done videos on this in the past where I've talked about don't just get equipment or don't just get new equipment for the sake of just getting new equipment. You want to ask yourself, is this piece of equipment going to be more efficient, right? And what I mean by efficient is, is it going to be more reliable, for one, right? Is it going to be a better cut, a cleaner cut? Is it gonna save me time, in turn make me more money, right? Because with the old equipment, maybe it doesn't start all the time, or you have issues, or it breaks down all the time, or whatever that might be, where it's not in production all the time. The wheels need to be done, or the gears need to be done every 2-3 weeks. It's just really outlived what it needs to do. That's when I would consider, hey, it's time for me to transition to something new. And then I can take this piece of equipment and, sell it used. I knew of a company, and this is something that you might really take a close look at, especially if you're transitioning into being a larger company. This was a very large company. And what they would do, they would actually sell all their used equipment every year and get all new equipment. Now that might not make sense to you, but this was a larger company. They had run the numbers and it made sense to them. I mentioned it a minute ago when it came to maintenance, and I want to kind of elaborate on that a little bit further. I want you to have like a maintenance log book, and I want you to have at least a sheet for every piece of equipment that you have, right? And I want you to log everything that you do for that piece of equipment. And once you figure out, that I'm going to sharpen the blades every, 3 days or 2 days. Again, that depends on the number of times you mow, right? The more you mow, the more you need to do that. Or you're gonna not even sharpen it, you're gonna just replace it. Whatever the decision you've made when it comes to your business model, I want you to have a log for each piece of equipment. So here it is, my mower, you know, on this particular day, I sharpened the blade, and then I did it again 3 days later. I did it again 3 days later. And that way, even as a solo operator, if you're doing this and you're keeping track, I did the filter, I did the oil change. Oh, look, I had to replace the bearings on the wheels on this particular day. And I can look back and go, oh, look, I did this, you know, just 2 weeks ago. That doesn't make sense. There's something going on that, you know, I need to talk to my distributor, the parts guy, or the repair guy and figure out, why am I having to replace this piece on a consistent basis? What am I not doing? And I can tell you it's probably because they're attaching parts to that piece that need to be replaced at the same time. That way, that particular piece is not getting worn down as quickly. But anyway, that's something that, you know, you will learn as you go along. But the most important thing, in order for you to curb this learning process, is have a log, right? A sheet for each piece of equipment, so you can see visually, what am I doing and how often am I doing it, and why are things going right and why are things going wrong. So I hope that helps out. Just make sure that you're, you know, starting off with the owner's manual, then you can adjust things as you see fit when it comes to your business model. I hope this video was helpful to you. Make sure to subscribe, like, and hit the bell button so you're notified of my future videos. See you next time, Lawn Care Pros.